Alright, what's up guys? Real quick, I just wanted to make a video talking about some of the advanced tech that has been found in the game since I released my any percent tutorials a few months ago. I get a lot of comments on YouTube talking about like, you forgot this strat, or you forgot this strat, or you know, how about this thing that X person does, and for the most part, like, it's impossible to retroactively go back and edit all the videos with the new tech. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over some of the tech that's been found and ways that it's used and how you can add that to your game. So just a quick recap, whenever I say hyper, I'm talking about down, forward dashing, and then jumping. It gives you this very long jump, and that's a wave dash is exactly the same thing, it's just in the air. So the first thing I want to talk about is dash jumping. Dash jumping is generally better to optimize areas that you have to normal jump through, because when you dash jump, you maintain the momentum of the dash, so you're just moving faster throughout the air. And if you dash jump and delay the jump, you can just keep your dash normal way. And something a lot of people do with like elevated platforms like this one that I'm standing on is if they have to pass the platform, what they'll do is they'll jump and then they'll dash jump off of it, and what that does is it clears the platform and it gives them their dash back and they're going faster. So that's the first thing that I wanted to point out. Another thing is reverse hypers. I do a lot of strats with reverse hypers, and people are like constantly telling me it looks really difficult or it's hard to do. And what you have to remember for reverse hypers is that once you dash, you can't go back the other way until the dash is done. So if I dash here to the left, I'm gonna immediately hold right, and she doesn't start going right till she's all the way over here. So it's the same thing with a reverse hyper. What you want to do is you want to dash into the corner, and then you just want to hold left as soon as you do the dash. And what that's going to do is as soon as you press jump, she's going to jump the other way. And that should make, if you learn to separate the left input from the jump input and just do the directional input earlier, it should make your reverse dashes earlier. And remember that to do an extended version of anything, you just delay the jump input. The later you leave the ground, the more likely you are to keep your dash. And you can see that I have my dash here, and this works for everything. Like even without a corner, you can do this. So the next thing I want to talk about is an ultra dash. A lot of people originally thought ultra dashes were not humanly possible, and that's because what we were thinking about was consecutive ultra dashes like that, but that's not really applicable anywhere. But if you'll notice, if you cancel ultra dash, first of all, it's just a hyper dash canceled into another hyper dash. That's what it is. If you cancel the hyper dash in the air going down forward, you'll have a lot more momentum going forward, and you can see that here. You saw that was just a regular dash in the air, but I like plummeted through. This is a normal dash down, see? But if I do an ultra dash, it's like super far. So anytime you cancel your hyper with another hyper, you'll get an ultra dash. And what people have started to do is, because when you bunny hop, you maintain the momentum that you had, and you actually accelerate a tiny bit. What you can do is you can ultra to things and then bunny hop, and you'll just maintain that momentum throughout most of the area that you're going through, like that. So what people have started to use a lot more ultra dashes in their runs, and they're incorporating them in a lot more places. Even if I updated my tutorial today with all the ultras that we currently use, a month from now there would be a dozen more ultras that I would have to add, because it's just one of those things that people are incorporating little by little as they find more places for it. What I do recommend is to try to start your ultras when you're first learning off of wave dashes, because it's generally easier to maintain your dash off of the wave dash like that, because you're touching the ground later and therefore you're jumping later, as opposed to doing a hyper dash. You see, like you have to be more experienced with doing extended hypers to really add ultras into your game off of hyper dashes. And another thing people ask me a lot about is wall bouncing, especially like lake skip and stuff. Wall bouncing in general has been made a lot easier in recent patches, mainly because they've added a pixel window of leniency under the corner itself, and they added more like the further you are away from the corner, so from the wall itself. So you can see I'm like pretty far and I'm still getting it. One thing to remember is that it's important to know that you can dash anywhere along, you can jump off the wall anywhere during your dash. So I can jump at the very first corner of the wall, or I can jump at the top of the wall, and that might impact the trick. So if you're copying a player's strats from their PB or from the world record video or whatever, make sure you're paying attention to where they're jumping off the wall, because that's going to be an important piece of information for the strat that they're doing. So just a quick example of all these things that I'm talking about. This is the awake section of chapter 2. A lot of people say that the top players should be ultraing more here, and this is just my strat for this section, and basically it incorporates everything I just said. I ultra off of this block here, and then bunny hop to here, and then one last thing I wanted to talk about is transition momentum. When you transition, you maintain the momentum that you went into the transition with. So if I hyper here, you'll see that I still had the bubble when I came out. If I dash into it, you'll see I'm still dashing when I come out. So a lot of the difficulty of the game comes in knowing what's next and being able to transition into the screen the correct way. So for instance, for this screen, to get up, I know that these holes are here, and I know that it's hard to get to this block. So if I was to just like dash into this screen and then do a hyper, I don't clear the block, you see? So when I think about that kind of stuff for my strat making, what I'll do is I'll come up with a way that allows me to land on that elevated piece of ground. And what I came up with was doing a hyper dash here into an ultra, and then bunny hopping, and that lets me get all the way over here. And that's only possible because I understand the terrain of the next screen. And then when I bunny hop up here, I do a wave dash off of here into an ultra, dash up here, do another ultra. Oops, that one's kind of ugly. I'll redo that. Like that. And then here I'll do a dash jump, and then ultras over and over. And those are some of the advanced techs that players are currently using in Celeste. Hope that helped. Hello? Question mark?